The wind over Tarsai's IV carried the taste of iron and static, a reminder that the colony was always one miscalculation away from collapse. Elia's core trudged through the narrow maintenance tunnels beneath the mining complex, his lamp flickering over fractured steel ribs and the fine red dust that coated everything like forgotten blood. He was used to silence down here, used to machines humming like mechanical ghosts, but that night something different echoed in the dark, a faint, rhythmic pulse, almost like a heartbeat. He followed it past the breached rock wall, deeper into a chamber half collapsed by the last quake. The radiation scanner on his wrist flickered erratically, its readings inconsistent, as if it couldn't decide what it was measuring. There, half buried under translucent mineral shards, he found it, an object shaped like a teardrop, faintly glowing from within. It wasn't metal and it wasn't stone. The pulse quickened when his hand brushed its surface. Warm, alive. He carried it back through the storm-torn settlement, clutching it like contraband. The colony's AI patrol drone scanned him, but he masked the signal using an old engineer's trick, looping his tool's frequency to mimic geological interference. No one questioned Elia's core. He was a quiet man, one of thousands forgotten by Earth's expanding frontier. In his small, dim habitat dome, he placed the strange orb inside a containment cradle and watched it thrum with soft light. That night the hum of the machines faded. The orb split with a sound like cracking glass. Elias leaned forward, heart hammering, as a tendril of steam rose into the cold air. From within the shell something stirred, small, trembling, covered in a sheen of silver moisture. Two tiny eyes opened, bright and impossibly aware. The creature gave a weak chirp, tilting its head toward the light. Elias reached out with shaking hands. The little being didn't recoil. Instead, it pressed its head against his palm as if recognizing him. Outside, lightning crawled across the sky, painting the colony's domes in momentary brilliance. Elias whispered, "Welcome to Tarsai's, little one." He didn't know what it was, but something in its gaze told him it was older than any world humanity had ever touched. Days passed in the quiet rhythm of survival. The creature, small enough to curl inside Elias' palm, grew restless, exploring the metal walls of his dome with cautious steps. Its scales shimmered faintly in the artificial light, patterns forming and fading like shifting constellations. Elias had built machines all his life, but nothing like this. When it breathed, the air seemed to thrum with hidden energy. Sometimes, when it slept, the lights in his quarters dimmed and flickered, as if the creature's heartbeat interfered with the power grid. He fed it nutrient paste at first, but soon it refused to eat until he brought samples of the ore he worked with. The moment it touched the mineral, the surface of its scales glowed softly, absorbing microscopic traces of energy. Elias watched in silence, mesmerized. He began to record everything: the creature's size, behavior, temperature, the faint electromagnetic field that surrounded it like an aura. He named it Pyrrha. One night, as the storms raged above the colony, Pyrrha climbed onto his shoulder and stared out through the glass at the lightning veins carving the sky. Elias felt a strange warmth through his collar, as if its body temperature synced with his. Then, without warning, Pyrrha exhaled, a spark, a pulse of blue flame that curled in the air before fading. The dome's sensors went wild, detecting plasma where none should exist. Elias froze. Pyrrha looked back at him with a questioning chirp, unafraid. The next morning, Elias returned to the mines, but his thoughts stayed with the creature. In the control room, he overheard two technicians discussing rumors. A miner had found remains of bioengineered fossils in a restricted zone, traces of something ancient. Elias felt his pulse quicken. That night, back in his quarters, he examined Pyrrha's eyes under the scanner. The readings showed an internal crystalline structure unlike any biological pattern. It reflected energy signatures once thought theoretical, self-contained fusion. As he looked into those eyes, a strange certainty settled in him. Pyrrha was not an animal. It was a remnant of something far older, something humanity had only just begun to disturb. and somehow it had chosen him. Pyrrha's presence began to change the rhythm of Ilias' life. The air inside his dome felt different now, charged, alive, as if every molecule was aware of the small creature perched atop the console. It had grown fast, its wings unfolding like fragments of living metal, faintly translucent and laced with veins of light. When it stretched, static hissed through nearby devices. Ilias tried to shield it from scanners, reconfiguring the colony's environmental systems to mask its energy readings. He knew what would happen if corporate command learned about it. Anything valuable on Tarsai's IV belonged to the company, but secrets could not stay buried. One morning, he found a data packet waiting on his terminal, an encrypted message from a research division he had never heard of. It requested his presence at Dock 7 for routine equipment inspection. Routine was a lie. Ilias deleted the message, but the chill stayed with him. He watched Pyrrha as it hovered clumsily near the ceiling, chirping softly while sparks danced between its wingtips. The creature trusted him completely. That trust now felt heavy, almost sacred. That night he dreamed of fire and stars. He saw colossal shapes gliding through nebulae, their scales like molten glass, their eyes glowing with the light of dying suns. Voices echoed, a language older than memory, vibrating through his bones. When he awoke, Pyrrha was staring at him, its gaze steady, as if it too had shared the same dream. Days later, a storm swept over Tarsai's IV, battering the colony domes with shards of ice and dust. Ilias sealed his habitat and powered down non-essential systems. Amid the howling wind, he noticed Pyrrha's agitation. It paced, tail flicking, eyes burning brighter with every thunderclap. Suddenly, it let out a low, resonant cry. Ilias' terminal flickered to life, screens filled with streams of unknown symbols. The data danced in rhythm with Pyrrha's heartbeat. For an instant, he saw a pattern, coordinates, maybe, or a memory stored in light itself. Something inside him understood. Pyrrha was trying to remember. And whatever it sought was not from this world. The storm outside had not ended. It had evolved. The colony's shield generators failed one by one, their harmonic barriers collapsing beneath the charged winds. Ilias could feel the tremors through the metal floor, deep and rhythmic, as if the planet itself was waking. Pyrrha stood near the viewport, wings extended, each vein of light pulsing with synchronized precision. It was responding to something beyond the storm, something calling from the upper atmosphere. Ilias activated his personal scanner, tuning its sensors to Pyrrha's frequency. The readings came back impossible. Its internal energy signatures aligned perfectly with the magnetic anomalies circling the planet. He realized with a slow dread that Pyrrha was not reacting to danger. It was communicating. He tried to interrupt the signal, afraid of what might answer, but the creature turned toward him with eyes full of flame and memory. The lights dimmed, and the air shimmered as a projection formed, a map of space, not of stars as humans charted them, but living, fluid constellations connected by threads of light. Outside, the colony's main reactor exploded, sending a tremor through the sky. Ilias was thrown to the floor. Pyrrha screeched, its body flaring bright blue, energy rippling across the room like a solar storm. The structural alarm screamed as pressure failed. Then everything stopped. Ilias opened his eyes to see Pyrrha hovering above him, a protective sphere of energy surrounding them both. The outer walls had melted into liquid metal, reshaped by heat so pure it bent the air. When silence finally settled, Ilias realized what had happened. The reactor's destruction should have killed them, but Pyrrha's energy field had absorbed the blast. Its small body trembled, scales cracking under the strain, yet its gaze never wavered. It had saved him without hesitation, sacrificing its own strength. He reached out, pressing his hand against its chest. The faint light beneath its scales pulsed once, twice, then steadied. In that moment, Ilias understood the truth. The creature he had raised was not merely surviving. It was awakening. The aftermath left the colony in chaos. Half of Tarsai's IV's surface domes had gone dark, communications fractured into static and fear. Elias wandered the scorched outskirts, Pyrrha resting weakly in his arms, its body dimming like a fading star. Every transmission spoke of the same rumor, a bioentity seen at the heart of the explosion, something alive that had survived when no human could. The company wasted no time. Drones swept the wastelands, scanning for anomalous signatures. Their orders were simple: retrieve or eliminate. Elias hid among the old refinery tunnels, where the air stank of burnt ore and rusted coolant. He wrapped Pyrrha in thermal cloth, feeling its trembling breath against his chest. Its wings, once radiant, now hung limp, small fractures glowing faintly along their edges. He whispered words of reassurance, though he knew it could feel the fear beneath them. The little dragon opened its eyes, flickers of light sparking in the dark, and a weak hum resonated through the metal around them. Suddenly, the corridor filled